Granblue Fantasy Relink is an easy game. Or at least it used to be. Because now with the addition of the Lucilius quest, Skyfarers finally have a real challenge ahead of them. This guide will explain all of his moves, his unique gimmicks, and the best strategies for defeating this brand new foe. But before we begin the quest, we need to talk about loadouts. You will want your maxed out Terminus weapon, and anywhere from 41k to 44k HP. For sigils, you want Potion Hoarder 15, Guts 15, Auto Revive 15, and Improved Dodge. This is the bare minimum for defense, before you should even think of joining this raid. So do yourself a favor and get them, so you aren't dead on the floor for the entire battle. For offensive sigils, you want Uplift, to get your SBA back as fast as possible, and War Elemental if you have it. Because despite Lucilius not having an elemental weakness, it still amplifies your damage by 20%. And while not mandatory, I highly recommend Nimble Onslaught if you have room. If you can land perfect dodges, which should be easy with improved dodge, this generates invincibility frames and SBA, which are two things you really want for this quest. As for skills, Lucilius is immune to all status effects, except the normal attack and defense down. So don't bother bringing Paralysis, Glaciate, Slow, Poison, or Burn, as they have no effect here. At the beginning of the quest, Lucilius prepares Paradise Lost, and a barrage of lasers and ground AoEs will come flying at you. To survive this, get to the left side of the arena and hold block. This is because Paradise Lost is static and will always shoot lasers in the exact same way. 4 lasers coming from the north, then 4 from the northwest, 4 from the northeast, and once again 4 from the north in the exact same fashion. We head to the left side, so we'll have the most time to react to this 4th laser. Go there and then hold block. If you see the laser or a circle AoE is about to detonate, attempt a perfect dodge while still holding block. If you fail the perfect dodge, the block will absorb the hit. But if you succeed, you'll gain invincibility frames, and with Nimble Onslaught, these frames are extended. Once you've done that, even if you do get hit a couple of times, you'll most likely survive, as Paradise Lost is very quick. But this is also to our benefit. At the end of it, there will be fissure AoEs, but these are easily dodged by just maneuvering around. Once Paradise Lost is finished, Lucilius will start using his normal moveset. These attacks are mostly random, but he favors some more than others, and will never use the same skill twice in a row. This list is long, but learning the tells and how to dodge these attacks is important, as this is the bulk of his damage. To make this as simple as possible, I'll be describing the move, then its tell, then how to deal with it. So, going in order of frequency. Orb Pull. Lucilius pulls the player into melee range and orbs fall from the sky. If you are hit, they can inflict SBA Seal. To dodge, I hold block and dodge into the boss's hitbox, where no orbs can spawn. Orb Push. Lucilius will push away those in melee range and launch orbs that spin horizontally. These can inflict Skill Seal. To dodge, I hang out near the outer rim and slide in when a gap between the orbs is big enough. Mines. Lucilius will place 6 mines around the arena. If a player enters their AoE, they will glow for a split second and detonate. These are exceedingly deadly when he pushes or pulls players with the orb attack. If I trigger one of these mines, I hold block as soon as I can, and hope my allies can react fast enough. Donut. Lucilius will charge up and slightly push players away, slashing all around him in a donut formation. The best defense for this is to watch your character, and if you're being pushed, get close to him, as the only safe spot is the donut hole and the far outer edge. Melee combo. These moves are difficult to predict, but luckily they don't do much damage. He always completes 3 sword swings, but may teleport mid-combo to catch you off guard. Sword Beams. Lucius will do 3 quick sword swipes that have an AoE that trails behind his slashes. They can inflict an attack down debuff, reducing your damage by roughly 60%. Again, they aren't terribly strong, and he always does 3 of these. Axion. Lucilius will shoot 3 lasers in a cone formation. The farther you are from the boss, the wider the cone. But regardless, this skill doesn't do much damage. Iblis. Lucilius will teleport in the air and begin spinning his blades, throwing them at a target. Blocking is not recommended here. Instead, dodge, then pause, and dodge the follow-up. And his 10th skill in this set is the most deadly. At roughly 97 to 96%, Lucilius will glow red, briefly and start slashing to those in melee range, and follow it up with dark red puddles that spawn away from him. The best defense here is to know that this attack is coming. Based on my many runs, it appears to be an HP threshold trigger, but this is only a suggestion. As for dodging it, quickly run out and watch the puddles. He repeats skills 1 through 9 until you reach 85%, when Lucilius will enter overdrive and cast 7 trumpets. A new bar will be shown displaying his 12 labors, which must be completed or you will be dealt a permanent HP cut. For each labor you failed, until you only have 1 HP, in which the raid is unclearable. It's also important to note that you must save your Skybound arts for the very end of this phase, so don't waste them here. The first 4 labors are Twister. A player must step on one of the 4 colored buttons to begin the phase. Then, each player runs around the room pressing the remaining buttons to clear the labor. While this is happening, every color button that wasn't pressed will become a ground AoE and must be avoided. Additionally, a laser will be closing in on the players and will increase in speed the longer you remain in this phase. If you take too long, the element will reset, and you may fail the labor, so do your best not to get hit, spread out, and step on those buttons. The next set of labors has Lucilius sprinkling the field with orbs, then planting 4 large orbs near the center of the arena, each containing a feather. A player must hit one of the large orbs to scatter feathers around the arena to begin the phase. Hit the small orb, then hit the big orb, then hit the small orbs. It's really that simple. The only issue being players tend to clump up, and the time limit is somewhat strict, so try your best to spread out while avoiding the laser attacks. Next comes the sword phase. Each of his weapons have an independent moveset, but can easily be burst down with your skill damage. Once one sword goes down, a player can pick up that sword and throw it at another, dealing roughly 1,000,000 damage, and applying a huge defense down debuff. The sword doesn't have the longest range and is prone to missing, so be calm and aim carefully. The damage is definitely worth it. If the swords are left alone too long, they may plunge into the arena and create orbs, which will explode if the sword stabbed a purple section of the arena. To avoid this, just simply focus down one sword at a time, and eventually they will all fall before this is an issue. The 12th and last labor is a race to perform a max burst before Lucilius finishes casting Paradise Lost. When you're using a SBA, the gauge will pause, but it's best not to use your SBA right off the bat. Instead, look at your teammates' gauges and plan accordingly. If you stagger your SBAs, you should be able to clear this one without any issues. After the labor phase has ended, the boss will resume its prior attack pattern, but now gain the ability to channel Paradise Lost, forcing you to dodge his opening act again. We absolutely do not want to do this again, so we need to interrupt it with an SBA or filling the stun gauge. Breaking also works, but this is a bit hard to account for, so to be on the safe side, I always hold SBA in case one of my teammates gets inflicted with SBA seal. In general, I don't recommend going for a full burst for the remainder of this fight, unless you're playing with friends who you can count on. At roughly 60%, the boss will enter his blue phase and cast Final Rebellion. This is by far the most difficult phase, but don't panic. You'll get plenty of practice since you have to do it twice. Lucilius will fill parts of the arena with a slow, and ground AoEs will begin to track you. These AoEs, once detonated, will leave behind more slow and damage you. However, there is enough room in the arena to account for this, so there's always room to dodge. To counter this mechanic, I hold block and dodge the AoE at the last second, right before this circle is filled. If I trigger a perfect dodge, I'm free to walk around in the slow unaffected, and if not, the damage is minimal. During this, we also have to deal with the lightning that will randomly drop around the arena. If it's near you, dodge, and be prepared to dodge again when the circle AoE catches up to you. The second act of this phase has 4 lightning beams, which will track each party member. If you block these, the laser will despawn for a moment and come back, but this isn't recommended if you're close to the center of the arena, as they will come back right away. Instead, spread out and try to get near the outer rim of the arena, as long as it's not covered by slow. You will also have to contend with orb AoEs that will be dropping. These you'll have to hop over as we are saving our block gauges for the lasers. Lucilius ends it off with one giant orb, which he drops from the center, so get to the edge and dodge one more laser circle, some random lightning, and Then he'll follow it up with a random skill. It can be the red flurry, it can be the orbs, it can be mines. Just be on guard. In his blue form, he also gains some new moves. His horizontal orbs now have a very fast pattern and a very slow pattern. He also has the ability to teleport off stage and use a quick laser or a sword slash. These inflict permanent HP cut and are very fast. If you get hit with one of these, it's not the end of the world, just keep fighting. To counter this, I always stay locked on, so when he teleports off stage, I know, okay, he's going for one of those. He can also recast labors if your damage is lagging behind, but this time, he will attack during the labor. It's very chaotic, but just try to clear them as quick as you can, then resume the boss fight. You will typically see Final Rebellion again, but it's the same as the first time, we already know how to deal with that. And your last new mechanic is Gopher Wood Arc. Lucilius will dash around the room quickly, damaging anyone he collides with. For this, I point my camera down and just dodge. It's just not that complicated. Try not to clump with your teammates though, as the last half of this formation does seem to track you ever so slightly. And finally, the end. Your final DPS check, Lucilius will have all his swords out and they will attack you as you try to finish him off. It's a bit scary, but now's your chance to use your full SBA, and you should get the clear. If you found this guide helpful, show a friend, and if you have any feedback or criticism, let me know. Additionally, any new tech I find will be compiled in the pinned comment down below. Until next time, good luck, and have fun farming Lucilius's tears. Oh yeah, and subscribe.